Love is our true divine nature, and our heart serves as the intersection of the spiritual and physical, connecting our soul with our body as the conduit for anchoring our divinity onto the earth plane. Embodying our divinity is the key to our ascension and to manifesting our highest destiny in this life. The teachings of the heart are alchemy. Join spiritual mentor and channel Jennifer Spohr each week on a sacred journey to lift the veil to remembering your divinity and meet other beautiful souls who are living the path of the awakened heart. Hey everyone, super thrilled to welcome as a guest to the show today, Zya Be. She is an audacious woman with a big vision to inspire women to bravely live their hell yes life. I can't wait to dig into that. She closed her consulting business, leading large-scale change for Fortune 500 companies, and embraced this mission and her multi-potentialite way. I haven't heard that before. She hosts your Hell Yes Life podcast, where she showcases the amazing stories of courageous women from around the world. Following her own inner yes, she co-authored an international best-selling book on creativity and became an abstract artist. Her brilliant and bold designs are more than just paintings. They are portals to connect with your emotions and life force energy. Welcome, Zya. What a treat to have you.
It's a treat to be here. Thank you.
Yes, this is going to be super fun. I'm sure everybody already caught on to all the oohs and ahs as I was reading your bio and introducing you. So I can't wait to dive in. So tell us, what is the Hell Yes Life?
Well, in my perspective, it's following that deep inner yes, following your intuition. So, in contrast to the shoulds, the expectations, the society rules, the family rules, all of that, or even our own rules of what we feel like we should, the yes is following your own inner compass for what you're going to do. So it can come off as like, woohoo, it's rainbows and butterflies and I'm living my best life and every day. And to me, that's not what it is. It's riding the ups and downs and following your yes every step of the way.
Awesome. And there are some rainbows and unicorns and
Course, yeah,
butterflies
yeah.
along the way, right?
Absolutely. But there's some, less ideal times as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I believe that too, that our journey is like a spiral. I think there's also fun in that because um I don't know. I just believe like when we're curious about life, when we choose to get curious about our experiences, that it just makes the ride all that much more exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. To step back and get some distance from it of like, huh, why is this happening? What's going on here? Which I'm actually going through right now. My mom was in the hospital. She got out. A friend passed. My mom is back in the hospital. Like there's so much swirl going on
Yeah.
that I could get sucked into it, or I can step back and be like, okay, what is going on? What am I going to learn from this? What support do I need? What's my yes? All of that. And just,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
what you said there even is so key, right? Our ability, our conscious choice to step into an observer role, to create that space to pause and ask, okay, well, I might be feeling this, not so much kind of thing going on right now. Like, what's the hell yes in that? On that note, I'd love for you to share more with us. How do you advise clients around that? Like, who would be someone that could most benefit from receiving your support, and how do you work with them to go from kind of that just existing to like really living?
Well, honestly, I'm actually not a coach in this right now. I have the podcast and I have my
What?
art. Yeah. Sorry. Actually, I don't know if you want to discuss that on the side, but yeah, no.
No. Well, no, that's completely wonderful. So tell us a little bit more about how you went on your own personal journey from going to kind of where you feel like you weren't living that hell yes life to actually moving into that space.
Sure. I mean, and at some point I will offer something, but in living my yes, I will not do something just for money anymore. And so I can get myself caught into these people like, oh, do a masterclass, do a webinar, be a coach. And I
Mm-hmm.
can feel myself slipping into the, oh, of course. And then it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
back up. Is that a big yes to me? If it's not a big yes to me, I'm not doing it. So
Yeah.
I haven't found what that big yes is besides the podcast and the art yet. And so that's where I'm hanging out.
Yeah. I don't do you mind if I share something that's coming forward? I'm highly intuitive,
Sure,
and I'm also a
absolutely.
channel.
Yeah.
I just want to share that. So I have a gift for being able to automatically feel someone's energies around like what some of their highest aligned gifts are. And so the fact that I mentioned that to you, that I automatically naturally asked you about that is a sign. And it might not be a sign to get into coaching per se. It could be a sign of something else in that realm, right? Maybe it's a group thing or something else. But I wanted to share that with you.
No, I appreciate that. And I know my mission is bigger
Totally.
than, I won't say just, because just brings them smaller. My mission is more than my art and my podcast. I just haven't figured out what path that is. And getting those two going is taking a lot of energy unto themselves. And so I didn't want to
Yeah.
throw something in just yet, but something else is going to be coming.
Yeah. Well, tell us more about what inspired you to the podcast and the art, because by the way, I mean, those are tremendous leaps in aligning with your path, right? As well. There's, I mean, a zillion trillion different ways that we can creatively express ourselves. I always personally in particular am very oohed and awed by those who are talented artists. So I'd love for you to share more about that with us.
Sure. So, and I believe everybody is creative. So maybe you just haven't found what kind of art you're going to create yet. But although doing your podcast and your work is creative as well. So you don't have to create in
Yes.
that way, in that artistic way. So I was in corporate consulting, helping large scale companies implement change for 20, 25 years. To be honest, about 5 years in, I really wanted to be out. I enjoyed my work. I liked helping my clients, but I knew it was not my soul work. And it felt honestly like I was selling my soul. And at the same point, I didn't know what that other thing was. And I'm single and I need to pay bills. So I just kept doing it until something else appeared. And I had a good life. I was making good money. In between projects, I would travel. I traveled solo around the world for a year. I traveled every continent before I was 40. So I'm not saying it was a bad life at all, but that nagging continued. And I just kept waiting for the universe to drop something on my head and say, go forth. This is what you're meant to do. And that's not the way it worked for me.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. Unless I have somebody like you who says, here's the thing, go forth and do it. But so I did that at 40. I stopped and I tried another business, jewelry and whatever. We don't need to go through everything, but that didn't work. I went back to consulting. And finally, my last biggest client was found guilty of uh, felony. Like, I don't remember if it was called murder, but basically they were responsible for the fires in California. And that's when I said, that's it. I am too far out of alignment. I cannot do this work anymore. I spoke to a financial planner and he was like, yep, you've been saving, you've been investing, you're good, you're out. So I semi-retired, closed the business, and honestly thought I would be just thrilled to have all this time to myself. And I was kind of bored. People my age were not around. There wasn't much to do. I didn't know what path to take. And so beginning of 2020, I got a one-way ticket. I was going to travel around the world again. I was going to find my purpose, my place, all this stuff. And, everyone knows 2020, right? Synonymous with COVID. So I made it to Mexico, small town. And after 2 months there, I gave up and I came home. And it was hard. I'm single. I live alone. It was deep, deep loneliness because I live in San Francisco where they were pretty serious about the lockdowns. And then we had wildfires. So you can't be inside with people. You can't be outside because of the smoke. And it was a really, really hard time. So I took a lot of classes. I've always been creative. I took poetry and singing and all kinds of things. And
Mhm.
that's when I took my first painting class. And I had not picked up a paintbrush since I was in, I think, elementary school. And it was like, woo, what is this? And
Yeah.
it was a paint your legendary self. And this magical being unveiled herself. I mean, if you look at what I started with, it looked like my 10-year-old self painted because that's the last time I painted. And by the end, it truly is, my friends call a masterpiece. It's magnificent. And I can say that because I think is my best piece to date. And so that just started me on a path. And then from there, I started to realize that as much as I liked that, I'm more of a free flowing, playful, big energy. I don't want to make a precise face. I want to just fling and push and move and explore. And to your point with curiosity, what happens if I throw green paint from above and swish blue paint over here? And it's a lot of
Mhm.
play and curiosity in my art. So that became a path in, 2020, end of 2020 into 2021. It started. I got my first studio this year. And then the podcast, the beginning of this year, I was taking a lot of classes, again, just curious. And in one of them, they offered us a challenge to do videos just to get comfortable on screen. And in that video, I said, I want to help women live their hell yes life. And as soon as I said it, it was like angels were singing. It was like, oh, ooh, that's something. What was that?
You're like, woo, yes.
Exactly. And the next day, I just got this like one sentence of, I want to create a podcast to spotlight and celebrate women to inspire and inform others. And I wasn't even a podcast listener. So I don't know where this came from, but it came and poof, and so it shall be. And that's
Divine
where it's from.
download.
Yep.
I love that so much. I love what you said when you were sharing about like when you picked up the paintbrush, you just sort of felt this woo, like this ping forward. That's a lot in my experience and my personal experience and that of working with other people. Like that is what it feels like. And it can feel differently for different people, but that's often what it feels like when you're being guided to align with something that I believe that you're meant to do. You feel some kind of emotion, some kind of ping in your field around that. So for those who are listening, right, paying attention to that as one of the signs, if to the listeners, if you're someone who's listening and you are kind of wondering, what's next, because a lot of people actually are in that space right now, whether someone is being called to initially make that leap to bring deeper meaning to their life, or someone who's already been on the path for a while, but feeling guided, right, to step into sort of that next level of expansion. Our emotions and our body's feelings really can be quite telling in terms of assisting us in moving forward on that path. So tell us more about this book, because you co-authored a book too, which is amazing. And I want to celebrate you for that, by the way, because sharing our journey is a big deal.
Thank you. Yeah, it was such an unbelievable experience. Like, I think we all had high expectations, but it blew everything out of the water. And I'm very somatic. I have a lot of like body based things. And now I have this deep feeling of what is that feeling of just unbelievable meteoric success feel like? So I can tap into that. So it's a creative group that I belong to, mostly painters, but there are other artists in there. And the person who has organized the group said, you know what? I want to do a series based on creativity. She has different angles, but the first book is the one I tapped into. It's called The Creative Life Book. And it's 65 women came together. Maybe there's one man. No, I think it's all women who came together and gave our best tip for how to be creative. Because I think most of us in this book believe that, like I said earlier, we are all creative beings. And I think that creativity is our connection to life force. It's one of the main things, right? Because everything is creation. And so my tip is essentially, it's called Travel Back to Childhood or something like that. It may not be the exact words. And it's all about some of the things we've talked about: curiosity, play, non-judgment, separation from outcome, some of these key things to take that, not, I would say not just to creativity, but to life. I think those are themes for life, but definitely for creativity, because as a child, you draw, you paint, you sing, you're just having fun. You don't see a 2-year-old scribble on a piece of paper and say, oh, it's not good. They just scribble and they want you to hang it on the refrigerator, right? But then
Yeah.
all of a sudden at 12, it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to show you. And by 22, it's definitely like, nope, I only color for myself and I'm not going to show anybody at all ever. And, society teaches us to judge ourselves. So I want to bring people back to that non-judgmental, curious, playful space.
Absolutely. That curious, playful space is who we are at a soul level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had only one piece of wisdom that you could share with the world, what would that be? Like, what would you most want to share right now?
Um, I may glue two together. I would say it's like connect with your intuition and trust yourself.
Ooh, I love that. Yes. Yes, and yes to that. Yes.
Yeah, because you can connect to your intuition and then question yourself and not really follow it. And you can trust yourself from a
Mhm,
headspace and not really your
mhm.
deep inner wisdom. So I'm going to glue the two together.
I'd love for you to continue to elaborate on that because that is so true. Um, there could even be someone listening thinking, oh, I already know that. Yeah, you might know that or intellectually understand that. The question is really, how deeply do you embody that, right? What would be your advice around moving from intellectual understanding more into deeply embodying?
I mean, that's been a process for me. Honestly, I mean, it's been over years, but one of the biggest is I took a 2-year energy class, and the teacher really was relentless, but in a good way. I would ask a question and she'd be like, nope, you're asking from your head. Get into your
Yeah.
body and ask it again, and then I will answer. But until then, I'm not answering your questions. So she was a great reflection. I didn't even realize what I was doing. And so I think it's just over time, become aware of where the curiosity is coming from. Because at least for myself, and I imagine a lot of people, the curiosity is when it comes from your head, is almost a sense of wanting to control. If I understand this, then there's no uncertainty. And therefore, I feel in control of my space and my existence and my life. Instead of allowing some of the mystery of life to happen, and you get the knowledge from your body and the questions from your body of, okay, what do I really need to know?
Hmm.
Because as my time with her progressed with this, constantly checking in, I noticed that I would have a question I wanted to ask in my mind, and then I would pause, and my body would be like, I don't care about that. I don't need to know. And then I would just let it go. It was just this like, it was a way that I would pull myself out of my body and into my head of, nope, don't pay attention to that. Get back up to your head. So I think it's this constant, I mean, constant makes it sound not fun, but it's a continuous process
Yeah.
of as you find yourself knowing, quote unquote, knowing, I understand this concept, I know it, to check in with your body and be like, do I really know it? What do I know about this? Like, if I think about, I don't know, let's say creativity, if I really deeply connect in with creativity, the way I feel about it, it's like a pull and a spaciousness and an energy that just wants to move through. Creativity from my head is, what colors do I need to buy and what paint do I need? And it's the how, and it's not really the deep movement of creativity. So I
Yeah.
think it's just the awareness and the practice of, where am I right now? Am I asking for my head? Am I knowing for my head? Am I knowing for my body? And you could even do little games with yourself to practice the body. Like, do I do I really know how to make a dish that I really like? And it's like, ooh, you know that in your body, right? You can feel like, ooh, I really know what pasta is like, and I know how to feel that. Or do I know it from a head space? And just play around and practice. And I think over time, you'll realize when you're in your head, and you can give yourself a break and say, I don't actually need to understand that. I
Yeah.
can just drop in.
I believe many of us already know what that is for us, right? I think, and it is about what we feel. It is about anchoring that into our body. Absolutely. I think a lot of people are already clear on what that thing is for them. They just question it because it can be something that no one else is doing, right? Or something that they don't see going on around them. So they're like, then they get into their head.
Mm.
Is this right? Is this real? Yada, yada, yada. And it's so important to, I think you mentioned this earlier, being tapped into your intuition, into your intuitive voice, knowing what the difference is between the intuitive voice and that of the mind. that questions. That can be also very helpful in navigating the path forward, I found.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's interesting. The thing that you just described is essentially what I focus on in my podcast. So I specifically bring on women who are living very unique lives so that you can see, oh, wait a second, somebody is doing that thing that I
Yeah.
would never imagine is even possible, to show that anything is possible.
Yeah.
Yes, you can be an author for the first time at 76. Yes, you can be
Yes.
a self-published musician at 27. Yes, you can make a living about grief. I mean, there's anything is possible.
Hell yes.
Hell yes.
So much fun.
It's a
Zya,
fun brand, I have to say.
yes. Zya, in closing, if someone wants to get to know more about you, where's the best place for them to go to check out your work, your podcast, all the things?
Yeah. So the podcast, if you go to yourhellyeslife.net, it'll direct you to the podcast. It's also on almost every podcast platform, Your Hell Yes Life. And I am older, so I use Facebook more than Instagram. I'm just saying it. So it's Zya Be, just ZYABE on Facebook. And I also have a group, Your Hell Yes Life, bringing women together to connect around these ideas on Facebook. And I am on Instagram. Zya.B is where I have most of my art.
Yes, and we'll have those links in the show notes as well for those who are listening. Zya, what a joy. How fun.
Thank you.
Fun. Thank you so much for coming on today, and thank you for your light and being you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here.
Yes, the pleasure is mine as well. Thank you for listening to Path of the Awakened Heart. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or pathoftheawakenedheart.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about living with an awakened heart and navigating your ascension journey, visit me at jenniferspore.com.